Hi, everyone. So I decided to torture myself reading Harry and Meghan's August 2025 to 2026 insight reports. Of course, they didn't write it. They can't write anything. It says right here, August 2025. So this is what we can expect for the next year. So I said, all right, let's take a look at this. And, I know TRG has covered it. I'm just going to give my 2 cents on it. So it starts out with a special thanks to all the people they found young people to question. They're basing this on young people, the Archwell Foundation, to show up and do good. So this year's report serves as a warning. The pace of technology is staggering and young people are overwhelmed. So they repeat again and again that the young people feel overwhelmed to make it seem panic driven. And it's signed by James Holt and Shauna Knepp. So they're very much behind this as well. Now, you may know James Holt is the executive director of Archwell, and he's a former head of media and head of government communications in the UK for Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg. So, he's here now pushing for censorship in America with Harry and Meghan. And Shauna Knepp as well as Jory Craig is at the end as well. This whole thing is pushing censorship and saying Archwell can take the lead in this. All right. Archwell is committed to censorship. That's what they should write. This whole thing is misinformation, but it was my opinion. So who put Harry and Meghan in charge of trying to figure out what young people in this country or any other country what they should have for their internet activities? Who are Harry and Meghan? What expertise exactly do they have to be putting themselves or trying to put themselves in charge of how the internet should be for young people? Now, the first picture that comes up cracks me up. All right, I can't believe they used this picture. They're gonna fire their PR team again because you got the back of Meghan. You can see Meghan's man shoulder, right? And she's and the hair and whatnot. So she's looking at these young people that they question. I guess this is one group, and look at the faces of these young people. Ugh, look at their faces. There's one young man. Meghan always loves targeting the young men. Remember how she hugged that young man for hours when she was leaving the UK with Megxit? And there's some young guy, and it's read a letter or something saying, "Oh, we'll miss you" or something, and she like grabbed him and started hugging him, and she wouldn't let go, and he looked uncomfortable. So you got the young man that Meghan's obviously connected to, and look at the rest of them. they look, they look, yeah, they don't look too happy to be talking to Meghan. Let me tell you, they're not animated. They're not like, oh, Meghan Markle. They're like, oh my God, this woman doesn't shut the f up. So I get a kick out of that picture. That's the inspiring picture for this report. Now in its third year, third insight report. So they claim they're going into how young people experience the media, social media, and technology. Blah blah blah. Who do they? And one of the questions interesting. They focus a lot on who the young people look to for leaders. It's very important to them to find out, wow, what kind of leaders? Who do you consider a leader? Because I think this insight report was used for Harry and Meghan to try to figure out how they can better reach young people. So I think they realize they're not having the influence they'd like to have over the youth. So they're very concerned about leaderships. They ask these young people, define leadership. Who do you trust? So that Harry and Meghan can pretend to be that, et cetera, et cetera. How is it growing up in the age of AI? Okay. How are you adapting to the world of AI? It's very vague, very general, but there's some specific things, but a few specific things they want to get done with this. One, they want to push Archwell to push for censorship, and they want to panic everybody by saying the children are overwhelmed. There's all this AI is causing all these problems, you know. So, okay, here we go. And they start off, as TRG pointed out, they start off that pointing out that like all the other countries already have implemented changes to try to improve young people's experience on the internet, or in other words, censoring them from it, uh, implementing changes in the way they interact online is how they're phrasing it. And they mention, of course, that both in Europe, EU, and UK are working to implement new laws aimed at improving relationships between technology and society. For example, in 2024, Australia became the first country to pass a nationwide ban on social media use for those under 16. Yeah, so we all know what that means. That means everybody's going to give their ID and identity if they want to get online. Yeah, so they're pushing that. And then of course, they mention here, this is the concern bringing the censorship to the United States. In the US, progress exists, but it's piecemeal. There's still no national policy on phone use in schools. New York's moving forward and doing some of that, so they're happy about that. They're saying young people feel empowered and overwhelmed. They want to see leadership from peers and adults. There's like a picture of young people. So growing up in the digital age, they're saying here, despite AI and feeling overwhelmed, they said young people say the solution is not to abandon social media or ban AI. Instead, they want to see leaders step up and recognize how difficult it is to manage life in this environment. And they want tools and guidance to help them cope with realities of digital life and shape it into a healthier, safer, and manageable. All right, so that's Harry and Meghan there. Harry and Meghan want to be the leaders, and Harry with his mental health app, and they mentioned mental health apps in here as well. They want to be the leaders, shaping the younger generation by acting like they're helping to make it safer for you online. This, of course, tyranny always used safety as an excuse. So here's this is the part I think is Meghan wanting to figure out how to get the young people to follow her and Harry better. So she asked them to define leadership, right? This is supposed to be a questionnaire about their experience online, how they feel, how they feel some changes could be made. And instead it's, tell me what you see in a leader. Who do you think's a leader and what makes them a leader and how do you decide, et cetera, et cetera. Meghan's like asking, is my PR working or not on you, right? And they point out that the young people recognize that they're influencers or just profit driven. They make sure to hone that in because you know how Meghan hates people making any money on a channel that criticizes her, right? Or tells the truth, exposes the lies. Um, so they say they go into leaders. They like leaders who are accessible and it, it says we often hear adults mistakenly assume that some influencers fill the leadership vacuum, but young people strongly disagree. So young people are saying that the influencers are performative and inauthentic. They keep using the word inauthentic and authentic in this, which, as we know, is a total megalodon word. They say influencers have a role as messengers, but are not seen as credible leaders. So Meghan's thinking, oh, damn, my Instagram account isn't helping, is it? And right here, again, with the megalodon authenticity, true leadership is about authenticity. Uh-huh. In an online world flooded with fake personas and curated perfection, aka Meghan's Instagrams, authenticity is the gold standard for true leadership. Hmm. Young people see real leadership as requiring honesty about one's life and struggles rather than promoting unrealistic standards. Another thing they seem to have a problem with is people using filters, like filters to look better with their faces. I think that may be why Megan put up all those ugly pictures of herself in Bizarre. Uh, I think that's to appeal to young people who seem to not like the touching up now. They seem to be turned off by it. Um, they say true leadership is not about money or followers. Youth believe that true digital leaders are those who use their platform authentically and with the right intentions. However, the term influencer is seen as innately profit driven. So, how is this about children feeling overwhelmed and how to help them navigate? No, this is about Megan trying to figure out what she needs to do to be seen as a leader for young people. Yeah, and of course, life struggles like Megan Ladon going on, making up lies about her alleged struggles growing up. Oh, she struggled with that commercial, and then she struggled with, you know, riots in LA, and then she struggled in figuring out a box to check, and then she struggled with the royal family, and, yada, yada, struggle being so bullied, and everything's a struggle. It didn't work, it doesn't look like. So some leaders, true leaders take action and show impact. Instead of follower count, criteria for identifying true leadership should focus on tangible impact and real world action. So again and again, going on about what they see as a leader. They're very Harry and Meghan and James Holt and all the rest, Shauna Knepp, Jory Craig, they're all concerned with who do these kids decide is a leader to them? Like none of you. That's all I'll tell you that much. Across most true leadership often starts offline. Across most groups, young people say they are more likely to trust those closest to them when seeking advice, like their parents, educators, and community leaders. Yeah. So that's excellent. I don't think there's no need to change anything there. Uh, yeah. One US participant says, I think about social media influencers, but without social media, we wouldn't know who they are. Leaders can make their cause known without using social media. They don't have to get your attention with a 30-second TikTok or by hate watching them. I thought that was an interesting comment. It's like a real leader doesn't create things for people to hate watch, which is all Megan does is create things. Harry and Meghan, they create things for people to hate watch, right? The only people that watch her stuff, they're hate watching. I thought that was interesting. And then they keep bringing up AI, like, oh my God, AI, our mental health. Am I going to forget how to write emails? I don't know. It's like, oh my, they're really emphasizing AI and fear with AI. They just don't use it. Um, accessibility. So that top two positives of AI: accessibility, support, personalized learning, and homework help, and the management organization. Well, you can't trust it with the homework. I'll tell you that much. So that growing up with AI is a tool, not a replacement. Fears of overdependence. Well, I mean, I think it's pretty much given. They say that you're just working with it but also double checking it with resources with AI because you can't trust anything it comes out with. Then they taught top concerns about AI are overdependence on technology. Well, overdependence on technology or in general, the social media or maybe the AI, uh, just don't use it if you feel over dependent on it. I'd tell you. There we go. Here we go. Misinformation, manipulative content. Yeah. Here we go with the misinformation. And don't forget, misinformation or disinformation or desinformatia was created by Joseph Stalin in 1923. Yeah. Designed for their propaganda. And Jory Craig's going around doing podcasts, and she's still doing the defining of what misinformation and disinformation is. So, oh, here we go again, the communism coming in. Fears around manipulated content. AI has the big impact on real world events, can be dangerous, especially when there's young people using it and their brains aren't fully developed and they can't tell what's real and what's not. So that's leading in in my opinion, they're saying, well, their brains aren't fully developed. Well, I guess you're gonna have to have a ban on under 16s then. Everybody have to give their ID to get online then. Of course, parents stepping in and safeguarding. No on AI, and of course, this report doesn't emphasize on that. Instead, they emphasize on, well, the good parents help their children and make sure the safeguards. Well, what about, you can't expect all parents to do it. That's where Harry and Meghan want the government to step in, as AOTRG already pointed out. So AI and mental health. So again, here's Harry with his mental health garbage. He wants to come in with his copycat app to try to get their data through that. And they talked about nothing. This is all promoting Harry and Meghan and Archwell. Growing up with social media, they talked about how social media has changed over the years. Growing nostalgia for the early days of social media, which again, like, what does that have to do with now navigating? They're trying to claim going back to the old days, the way it was, without algorithms and everything else. They say young people are trying to disconnect and failing. I think everybody's trying to disconnect, a lot of failing. It's an addictive. Social media is made to be addictive. Uh, yeah. This one says, I use social media like a pacifier, like an escape. One young person said. So the way forward, because Archwell knows the way forward. James Holt and Shauna Knapp and Jory Craig, they know the way forward. They want to be the leaders, even though they shouldn't be in charge of anything, in my opinion, ever. So prioritizing safety, design. Okay, this one. So what do they say about designing safety, safe spaces, safer harassment? Remembering. Okay. Oh, all right. So they urge tech leaders to protect vulnerable users from harassment, hate, and misinformation. Right, and that's what Harry and Meghan claim that they're victims of. Um, they say people suffer the consequences. Please remember, people behind the screens will get hateful comments, and people will see misinformation and be hurt by that. Uh huh. They go about the AI deep fakes with the nudes and everything. There's a clear plea for empathy over a profit. Yeah. So again, pushing Harry and Meghan's agenda, empathy, having empathy over profit. In other words, let Harry and Meghan deplatform everyone that they think, in their opinion, is misinformation. Because Harry and Meghan, with this reporter saying at the end, Archwell should step in and be in charge of this. Yeah. So again, it's like Meghan's and Harry's personal complaints coming out in a report here. Number 2, design for inclusivity and diverse perspectives. Inclusivity, diversity, DEI. Diversity, equity, inclusivity. Equity is communism. Of course, they kept that part out because we're in the Trump era now, right? But that's what they're pushing. So they're pushing socialism again, because you have diversity and inclusivity online. Everyone goes online. So they're pushing a more communist agenda, in my opinion, with that one. They're pushing the critical race and all that. Number 3, anti-white racism. Number 3, commit to ethical, transparent practices. And as TRG pointed out, yeah, transparency meaning knowing getting your personal data. And they write here, transparency is another common demand. Young people want to know how AI is being used and see companies acknowledge the uncertainty or limitations. Okay. Emphasizing that AI systems should admit. All right, so this one I thought was interesting. Emphasizing that AI systems should admit they don't know rather than pretend to be infallible. Well, the globalists want people to believe AI is infallible. It's a very important part of their globalist agenda because they want AI to take over everything, right? They want to take it over your banking and your life and your job. So they want you to think it's infallible. So they're not going to go for that one, that's for sure. Put humans above profit. Okay, another Meghan point. A strong theme in the letters is frustration with profit-driven design at the expense of people. Yeah, again, Meghan hates people making any money having a YouTube channel talking about her. That's totally for Meghan. I mean, how does this putting humans above profit? What does that have to do with young people's experience online and helping them from preventing harm to them? What does that have to do with it? Oh, stop giving people money for making videos that Meghan doesn't like. Well, that's what they should have called it. Number 5, implement strong regulations and safeguards. Yes, safeguards. They want censorship. They want um, under 16s not online, I guess. Empower users with control and education. Control, more safeguards, more platforming people. Quote, I think online spaces should have more age restrictions and should be more controllable by the user instead of the algorithm showing you things you don't want to see. So they're claiming the algorithm showing them things they don't want to see. The algorithms usually show you you do want to see. So they're emphasizing that. Protect privacy and data rights. Well, protecting your privacy online, your data online is the only way to do that is to just avoid, being online or avoiding Google. Otherwise, everything you put online is accessible and it's impossible to not. You leave cookies wherever you go. So if they're worried about privacy and data protection, you're just going to stay off of the apps, right? You've got to because every app you use collects your data. There's no way around it. Um, Consider environmental and future impacts. So here's another like globalist kind of thing. What does this have to do with their uh, experience here? This is pushing the globalist, agenda, the UN agenda. They're saying here, highlight the broader impacts of technology on society and the planet. It said participants want leaders to think long term and urge sustainable, they use the UN Agenda 2030, sustainable design choices to minimize the carbon footprints and energy use. Carbon footprint. So there's a globalist agenda in there as well. Again, DEI is part of the globalist agenda and this as well. So this is all pushing the UN Agenda 2030, which Harry and Meghan are doing with this. Engage and listen to young people. And they actually put in an Australian young person saying they denounced the recent legislation to ban social media for children under 16. They're saying that it was pushed through without asking young people, and they didn't like that. And they felt it was a band-aid. Well, it's a push. That's why Harry and Meghan do want, of course. Takeaways. These are Harry and Meghan's takeaways. This whole thing was just an insight report for Harry and Meghan to try to tap into the minds and how they can portray themselves as leaders to them, in my opinion. So, number 1, the takeaways from youth online and their experience. Young people reflect on leadership. What does that have to do with their online experience and how to improve that? Meghan and all the rest of them so concerned with being the leader, trying to be seen as leaders. It's important to note the definition of authentic leadership. Yeah, participants, the young people here, highlight the importance of hearing from voices that they can relate and trust. Authenticity, again with that megalodon authenticity, rather than follower accounts, was repeatedly emphasized. So they said authentic leadership. And that's why you hear Meghan constantly saying, I'm authentic. I'm so authentic, right? Always trying to bring that in there. Number 2, youth need more education around responsible AI use. Yeah, okay, just don't use it. How about that? Discern misinformation. And there's the misinformation. Lack of preparation leads to misinformation again, disinformatia. Am I saying it right? Desinformatia. I'm going to use this from now. I'm going to call it desinformatia. That's Jory Craig's wheelhouse there. So you know what? The kids having problems with the AI deep fakes causing, this is all misinformation. You got to hire Jory to come fix your problems there. Put Jory Craig in charge. That's what she wants. So Harry and Meghan and Jory Craig and all these people, James Holt, Shauna Knapp, they want to be in charge of what you can see and do online and say on social media, which is why this is all going back to, putting people over profits. This is all about trying to deplatform YouTubers again, in my opinion. Regulation must keep pace. Have you heard Harry and Meghan apologize or acknowledge how they have been all these deplatformings that went on under Biden? I mean, they don't. This is exactly what they want. They're angry and they also bring up fact checkers later. The fact checkers, of course, being the globalist controlled puppets spreading more misinformation, and they're spreading this report is full of lies. Climate change, carbon footprints. Seriously, but you're still going to push this lie and then turn around and say, "Oh, misinformation AI. We're going to fix that." Anyways, number 3, regulation must keep pace with innovation. Young people strong. I mean, that's a stupid point. Well, duh. How is this supposed to be an insight? Yeah, right. First of all, regulations is what, again, there's censorship. But otherwise, any other kind of regulations keep pace with innovation. That's what they try to do. Weak oversight allowed. Okay. All right. So they're saying here, young people voice frustration as that regulations lag far behind technological development. They warned against repeating mistakes made with social media, where weak oversight allowed platforms to grow unchecked. Well, that's a real problem. The platform is growing unchecked, because you can't have too many YouTube accounts. Meghan wants to make sure she's got a finger on that and can snuff out any accounts she doesn't like. That Megxit community grew too fast. That's what that means. Number 4, desire for real control. Yeah, that's what Meghan wants. Harry and Meghan they want control over the internet. That's what this whole report is about. Set boundaries with social media. And it is an interesting one right here. This is why I think Meghan made those ugly pictures without any makeup on. Eliminate beauty filters. They're very interested in eliminating beauty filters and the ability to endlessly scroll. Well, that's the way they were created. That has nothing to do with AI or anything else. Ban AI created content. Remove which I don't agree with. A lot of people use them. They're very useful for thumbnails and stuff. Remove public company pages and implement fact checking. Yeah, they want to implement fact checkers. Yeah, and bring back the communists. The problem with that, of course, is who decides what the truth is, right? Prioritizing diversity of thoughts. Again, DEI already is diversity online. Youth call for better interventions that interrupt doom scrolling. Oh, yeah, here's an idea. Put the phone down, then you won't be doom scrolling. Curb harmful spirals, reduce exposure to predatory or unwanted contact. They want platforms to be designed with mental health in mind. Here we go. The mental health angle for Harry and his mental health app. So Prince Harry will come out and say, "Hey, kids, I have the answer for you right here. My copycat app I made and collect your data with." Conclusion, young people want to be heard. They want a seat at the table, again with the megalodon phrases, seat at the table. Seriously, James, really? So here we go. The experience nuance. Taken together, these insights reinforce the need for investment in authentic leadership. Authentic leadership. Gee, I wonder who those authentic leaders would be. Oh, I know. Harry, Meghan, James Holt, Shauna Knapp, and Jory Craig. Digital literacy, yeah, telling the kids to only trust the mainstream media sources, a la Jacinda Ardern, will be your truth. tech ethics, cross-generational dialogue. Well, there already is, I believe. They highlight that while geography and culture shape a person's experience, they call for a safer, i.e., more censorship, and more inclusive DEI, more communist, and more anti-white racist, and more accountable technology universal. Instead, we need to come together to close a vacuum in leadership. Yeah, we need to close that. There's no leadership, there's no leader. There's no authentic leaders. Can you think of any authentic leaders? Fit for the digital age facing. So this is a new problem they're saying. It's all new. Oh, AI, they're overwhelmed. We need a new leader right now to step in there, right? This leadership. So they're describing the leadership they want to take. It's not they want censorship. They're not only saying they want more censorship, they're saying where are the leaders to do the censorship? We want to do it now. Harry's fresh out of the Aspen Institute as commissionation. Was he disinformation commissioner or whatever? Oh yeah, they're like this leadership. They talk about the leadership again. This is supposed to be a report about kids' online experience and what they want to see change. No, no, no. Harry and Meghan want to talk about we need a leader here. We need Harry and Meghan to step in with Jory Craig and censor the F out of all you Megxit YouTubers. That's what it's about. So this leader should focus on the way technology will shape the public good. Yes, communism is all for the public good. And prioritize first and foremost safety. Yes. And who should we choose for that? Who's the authentic leader for that? Oh, the Archwell Foundation. There it is. Remains committed to elevating youth voices, translating them into actionable solutions, working alongside parents, educators, policymakers, and technology companies to create a digital world that prioritizes the well-being for young people everywhere. So this whole report was written for this one paragraph. It was for this one paragraph. Here's the punchline. Archwell should be put in charge of censorship, and they should be in charge and allowed to, do away with any channels they don't like on YouTube. They are chomping at the bits, and that's it. Thank you, our partners. And they roped in all these partners. Probably most of them are socialist, Marxist, communist. And at the very end, humans may not. Here's a Meghan quote for you against YouTubers. Humans may not be more profitable, but a better world for humanity has to include us. Jory Craig and Flavia Colangelo. So there we have it. This is the new censorship committee here. These are the people who want to be in charge, censoring people online for what they consider to be mis and disinformation. So there you have it. So I hope you found this interesting. Thank you for watching.